Hi. Okay, so we're going to do something a little different this week because we weren't overly successful on last week's assignment. You guys got to the end, and especially the sophomores kind of fell short. Some seniors didn't do it, but the seniors at least have a little bit of experience. So, what you were supposed to do is pick a website and then do lateral reading on its source to see if we can believe the website or not. A lot of you picked really interesting websites that would not be controversial. So I was looking for something where people are putting out news and we have to decide if we believe the news or not, if we can use that news source. I got a World War II museum, which is not going to put out news, modern news at all, or anything controversial. I got encyclopedias, same thing. So this week we're going to do it, and you get to choose from my list of news sources to see with a little bit of lateral reading, getting off of the site, see what we think about it. So I'm going to do this as an example, and I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to talk about Vox. Vox, V-O-X, is a site that I often see on Facebook. I've actually even shared it with you guys. I gave you a link to a video, a Vox video that talked about how to read um, COVID-19 charts and what are they saying. So when you look at a site, so here we are on the Vox News site, when you look at a site, there's a lot of information. There'll be a lot of different articles. I don't know why my screen just went blank. You can see a lot of different articles. Interestingly, here's one by Ezra Klein, who is one of our founders of Vox. And you're going to see that in a minute. But typically, if I want to know about the site, I have to go clear down to the bottom. Now, as I'm going to the bottom, it's interesting to look at what they have as far as different articles. And you can kind of glance and see, do I think that this is going to be a biased site just by what they're choosing to focus on? Oh, someone spells their name like me. And what they're writing about. So we seem to have a whole bunch of things here. We have Tyra Banks, we have the Supreme Court, etc. Now, if I want to get to know about a site, I'm going to go clear to the bottom, typically. Clear to the bottom, and there's going to be a whole bunch of information. So it's way down here, the stuff that we never look at. Down here, there is a link that says About Us. There's a link that says Ethic and Guidelines. Now you can see I already have these open up here at the top. About Us, and then Ethics and Guidelines. Now keep in mind that we are doing lateral reading. We are reading top to bottom. So we have not left the page. Everything that we're reading is what Vox is saying about itself. So if this were a biased news source or an untruthful news source, they're of course going to lie here too, but it's still a nice place to know what do they say about themselves. So I'm going to close this site because my computer is slow and lagging. And we're going to go to the About Us page. So we go to the About Us page, we start this really nice little graphic here that's kind of like Vox and how they portray themselves. You can see they're dealing with music and the world and voting and politics, etc. So we're going to give it a second to load up. So again, keep in mind, we haven't left the Vox page, so everything that they are going to say about themselves is, of course, from a biased point of view. I might say about myself that I'm the best teacher you ever had, but that doesn't mean that that's true, and doesn't mean that that's how you feel about me either. So this is what they write. They write, Vox explains the news, period. Now there's not a lie in that paragraph, and that's because that's the point they're making. They don't actually write the news. They take articles that other people have written and they explain them, which, so like that COVID-19 chart I sent you was not, they didn't make the COVID-19 chart. Their little video snippet was how to read the chart. It was explaining the chart. And I just feel like in general, sometimes people are given articles to read where maybe you don't know everything that the news writer assumes that you know. And so Vox is there, they think, to explain the context of what's happening, maybe give you some background information when you're reading articles. So it's interesting, gives us an idea of what they're all about. And then the next thing I opened was their ethics and guidelines. Give that a chance to open. Ethics and guidelines. And this just kind of talks about how they've built their editorial network, who they partner with. They believe in working with talented people, the judgment of our staff, the transcendent important, oh my gosh, the transcendent importance of serving the interests of our audience. I should know that from English 10 and I stumbled all over it. So they want to serve the interests of their audience. So that's a little bit bad because, right, we don't want everybody to just be telling us what we want to hear. We aim to give our teams clear guidance about what to avoid and the public knowledge of what to expect. So like what does the public know? What does it need to be informed about? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, interesting. So at this point, I want to get off the Vox website. Now you see that Vox is a V and nothing else to my right has a V in it because I really want to get out of what Vox says about themselves and I want to figure out what other people say about themselves. So I did a Vox search and I searched like about Vox and I searched like, is Vox reliable? One of the places I went first is Wikipedia. So Wikipedia, I searched up what Vox was, and it tells me it's a liberal-leaning American news source owned by Vox Media, started by Ezra Klein, and then these other people. Now, this is really easy. I could just go to any of these people. I could look up more stuff, and in fact, I did for Ezra Klein. Found out that he used to work for the Washington Post, and he wanted to start Vox because he wanted to be able to explain the news to people. He thought that that was a niche that no one was filling. So we scroll down. Here's the history of it. I just told you about that. His opening editorial essay was How Politics Make Us Stupid, and he explained his distress about political polarization in the context of Yale Law School professor Dan Kahn's theories of how people protect themselves from information that conflicts with their core beliefs. Content about like what they have, video, podcasts that Vox is behind and publishes. So I could look into those and see what I think about those. The reception, like who liked this new news source and who didn't and what they had to say about it. Now each of these people I can look up separately to see what they said about it. You can see it's really nice to even have a little graphic here for each one. Wikipedia is also really good because they talk about comparing his site's mission to John Keats' negative capability. Well, John Keats happens to be an English poet from a long time ago. And then negative capability is a phrase that he used. And so it explains it here if you're like, I don't know what that means. And then all the accolades. So they've actually won a lot of awards, which I found really interesting. And I felt like the more like these awards from the News and Documentary Emmy Awards, the National Academy of Television Arts and Science, which is really prestigious. So the fact that they have won awards makes me feel like they should have more validity, which I thought was interesting. I went on to look up more about Ezra Klein since he started it. And one of the things I want to point out is at the very top, not the very top, where are you? There we go. We have a Vox.com. Now, I don't want to read what they have to say about their founder. So I want to stay away from anything that says Vox.com because I want to hear what other people have to say about him. So he has a Facebook page. That's funny. But again, that's going to be him talking about himself. So here we have this book that he wrote, Why We're Polarized. So I could look into that. I looked into this article because I know that Wired magazine talks about like video games, computer stuff. They're very electronics. Sometimes they get into like social media and things that are on the internet. So I went ahead and I looked that up, which is this article. And it ended up being a Q&A, which is short for a question and answering interview with Ezra Klein. So it's pretty interesting. Shows kind of his viewpoint about politics, and about how the U.S. is more divided than ever, but he doesn't think it's because of Facebook or Twitter or even the media. And he goes into people's prejudice through the politicians, which I thought was really interesting. So it gave me some background as well. Other things I searched I'm gonna stop sharing. I searched like, is Vox biased? I searched how valid are Vox sources or information. I searched about Vox, and then did all those searches and found different articles. So this is what you're going to do in yours. I've given you a list of, I think, 5 or 6. You get to pick one. This way I know you're picking an actual, perhaps controversial news source. There should be at least one that you've heard of most likely. So I recommend you choose that one, or choose whatever you want. And then I'm going to walk you step by step in the assignment into doing your own research. So figuring out, find the link, find their about us, who is behind this site. Don't get stuck on an article. I don't care about that. I care about the site itself. And then from there, going off of it, opening new tabs and trying to figure out what other people say about it, and starting with Wikipedia, branching out from Wikipedia. And again, the assignment kind of moves you through all of that. So I am your video for the week. Hope you enjoyed it.